thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who never cries over spilled milk, Mike Vandebogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to everyone who's tuned in to Locations Unknown. Just a couple updates here before we get going. We've got a correction from our previous episode. Once again, we have bear controversy. So I can't remember. I'm at a loss to the national park from our last episode. What was that? Mount Rainier?
You keep going. I'll look it up just because we have all this stuff set up now, so I can do the search. So I feel like we can get answers but not have to wait.
On our last episode, it's Grand Teton.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. So on our last episode, we made a comment about bears in the park, and it was a little bit misleading. We said that there were grizzly bears and brown bears in Grand Teton National Park. So technically, while grizzly bears are brown bears, not all brown bears are grizzly bears. So generally, brown bears are considered to be those of the species that have access to coastal food resources, and grizzlies live further inland and typically don't have access to marine-derived food. So just want to make that correction because we actually got a lot of comments about when we said that. And
I think the people that care that much were probably just listening to the show waiting for us to talk about bears so they could get upset about it.
Yeah, so I never thought in my wildest dreams that we'd get so many comments about bears. So setting the record straight on that comment from our last episode.
Here's the deal, though. We're learning a lot about bears as a result of getting this stuff wrong. So
yeah,
that's the silver lining. We're learning a ton about bears.
Yeah, so there's your daily information on bears. So
we're going to start doing like a weekly bear update.
Yeah, we'll have to, yeah. Just a couple of Patreon shout-outs this episode. Angie Walter, Simona Maya, and Catherine Hindmarsh. So thank you so much for supporting the show. Every dollar helps. Joe and I were just talking about our big plans for later this year to get an actual professional studio built out. So
I can reclaim my office back a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
Get like all these curtains and stuff everywhere.
I know. This is turning into a studio.
Yeah.
So thank you. There's lots of ways you can help the show out. You can go to our Patreon page, become a supporter there. You can also go over to YouTube and become a YouTube member of Locations Unknown, where you get pretty much the same benefits. You get episodes of our shows ad-free, special icons and stuff. You can go check that out.
Yeah, go to YouTube, lick that subscribe button.
And you can also buy stuff from our store. We've got hats, and we're going to get more stuff on there. And you can always, if you don't want to spend any money on the show, which makes Joe and I sad, you can also just go out and, like us on all the platforms, give us positive reviews. We don't like the negative ones, so only positive. You can also call we have a phone number you can call.
Yeah, I would rather have people, instead of give negative reviews, call us with their grievances and leave messages.
And then we will definitely respond.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, let's stop responding to negative reviews, but we'll respond to every single negative message and positive ones too.
Yeah, so the phone number you can call will be listed in the show notes for this episode.
Can we just read it off? Just because if people don't read the show notes, I'll scroll down. I'm going to scroll down.
Okay. So, and finally, this episode we're doing tonight is actually a listener suggestion. So thank you to Michelle Foley for suggesting this episode.
What platform did she suggest it on?
She emailed us.
All right.
So
I love that platform.
Yes, email. So other than that, Joe is looking up our phone number.
I don't know where it is. I wrote it down somewhere important so I wouldn't forget it. And you know what happened?
You forgot it.
I forgot where I wrote the thing down so I wouldn't forget it.
I can tell you right here. It is, wow. 208-391-6913.
208-391.
Give him the wrong number. 6913.
All right. Make sure you call that number and you can give us all of your grievances and hatred.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Let's gear up and get out to explore locations unknown. December 2nd, 2014. An experienced outdoorsman from Milwaukie, Oregon, set out to hike Mount Hood National Forest. With no known plan and without notifying any friends or loved ones, this hiker was never seen again. Join us this week as we investigate the disappearance of Gerren Kirk. Mount Hood National Forest. You ever read here? Mount Hood National Forest? I almost read it.
Oops.
Mount Hood National Forest is 1.1 million acres, roughly the size of Glacier National Park.
That reminded me. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Ron Burgundy. Just read what's on the prompter.
Especially because people are like, you just read from Wikipedia and stuff. It's like, and we come out, we're like, yeah, we get our stuff from, well, not just there. We get it from the U.S. Forest Service and stuff.
Well,
it's like, you're just reading. I'm like, yeah, because I don't memorize all the stuff about Mount Hood.
Yeah, and I mean, this episode, I actually have 30 sources.
30?
For this episode.
Well, that's not enough if Wikipedia is one. Yeah, everyone's like, you're just reading. I'm like, well, I didn't memorize all the info about Mount Hood.
Yeah,
we have a different place every month. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yep, it's in Oregon. It was first established as the Bull Run Forest Reserve in 1892. Over the following years, the area was renamed and merged with other forests and eventually was named Mount Hood National Forest in 1924. The forest sees about 4.4 million visitors per year, and that's as of 2006. So it's one of the most popular national forests.
And I think that obviously has to do with its proximity to Portland.
Yeah.
I believe it's like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, and just, well, the people in the state of Washington are generally like an outgoing, like energetic people.
Yeah.
They do things outdoors. It's not a very, dormant place.
Yep.
So here's some interesting facts about Oregon. Portland, Oregon has more breweries than any other city in the world with more than 60. Which surprises me because I would have thought maybe we would have, but I think we just have bars.
Yeah, I think...
we don't make it, we just drink it.
Yeah, I think I remember something like microbreweries were started in Portland.
I believe that.
But I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, they're just normal breweries, but tinier.
Yeah.
In 1994, Oregon became the first U.S. state to legalize physician-assisted suicide. That I didn't know was a thing that could happen in the States.
Yeah, remember Dr. Kevorkian?
Yeah.
Yeah, that... I remember in the 90s that being a big deal.
Yeah, I knew the name. I didn't know that was like a real thing that was happening.
Yeah, I think 5 states allow it now.
That's crazy.
Yep.
All right. Oregon's residents own 1/4 of the country's total llama population. Keep Portland weird. It's against the law in Myrtle Creek to box with a kangaroo. That's awesome because that means it happened.
There was a picture of a guy boxing a kangaroo when I found that.
Oh, so actually, it maybe not be awesome because was it like totally like cockfighting type thing?
It looked like a circus kind of thing.
Oh,
like
so they're
guy
probably
had,
just
like,
beating on
boxing gloves
kangaroos
on.
and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought maybe it was like some drunk guy like punched somebody's
in
kangaroo.
theory, it sounds funny, but yeah.
Well, it's like
a
it was
guy
some
just-
guy who like got in a fight with a kangaroo, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna make that illegal now."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not funny anymore, but the concept is, but not if they're like hurting kangaroos for fun. Oregon and New Jersey are the only U.S. states without self-service gas stations. I hate that.
I
If
know.
you've ever gone to Jersey, I've never been to Oregon, and you can't pump your own gas. They
It's
don't
weird.
let you.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. Springfield, Oregon is the real-life inspiration for The Simpsons' hometown. Now, that one, are you sure about this one?
No, I'm sure real like Simpson diehard fans will.
Well,
debate
the
that.
thing is, I don't think they ever revealed what Springfield it was.
No.
Because I had a book on this, and they said they picked Springfield because it's such a common name.
Yeah.
And the whole play throughout the years is you don't know what city it is.
So we're going to say it is, and
All right, well,
I'm sure.
Call the number if you disagree.
Yes.
Tell us if you think it is. Because there's the one episode where Marge is about to say her address, and she goes, Springfield, Ohio, Maud. And Maud Flanders walked in, and she said it like that, so he didn't know if it was Ohio. All right. Oregon comes in at 6 for the most Bigfoot sightings in the U.S. Washington State comes in at number 1. Crater Lake is the deepest lake in the U.S. and nearly 2,000 feet deep and is one of the 10 deepest lakes in the world. We did an episode of...
Two episodes
on
Crater
that,
Lake.
but the one that was on the History Channel for our new listeners. We were on the History Channel.
Joe was on the History Channel.
So on a case that we did on Crater Lake. So check that out. Oregon is one of 5 U.S. states that doesn't have a sales tax. That's interesting. They're pretty progressive. You think they'd have more taxes, but all right, good for them. So the climate in Oregon, the Köppen climate classification for Mount Hood National Forest is dry summer subtropical, or often referred to as Mediterranean. The average temperature is around 50 degrees. The warmest months on average are July at 64.6. Wow, it doesn't get warm there at all.
No, it's, I mean...
I know that's the average. Sure, it gets hot, but like that seems pretty low.
Sorry, I just cleared my throat.
Yeah, we can't have any of that, Mike. We have to redo the whole episode.
No, it's kind of like a temperate rainforest there, so it's kind of damp on the east side of the mountain, and we have a little bit on that farther down, but
okay,
yeah.
So coldest months, January, obviously at 36 degrees. The highest recorded temperature was 107. The lowest was -2. That's what's crazy. So it seems, with it being farther north, their lowest temperature is -2.
Yeah.
Like, we had that like a week ago here. That seems like...
Yeah. I mean, they're closer to the ocean.
Yeah, that's just wild.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's great reasoning for it. I'm just shocked by it.
Yeah.
The average precipitation is 68.8 inches per year, with the most average precipitation in December at 11 inches and the lowest average precipitation in July at 7. On average, Mount Hood National Forest gets 22.7 inches of snow,
which actually
most of it falling in January.
Yeah, compared to like here out in Milwaukee, we get like double that, but that I don't think takes into account maybe what they're getting on Mountain Hood. I mean, there's glaciers on the top.
Oh, yeah, because to sustain glacial growth, you have to have constant snowfall and no melting. So I wonder if they do. I wonder if they would exclude that in general. I'm trying to think of like the state of Colorado. Did they count the Rockies, or is it just like a certain height and below?
Yeah, I don't know.
We should do a Patreon episode where we figure that out. Let's do that next.
Okay.
We're going to figure, if you want to know the answer to if cumulative snowfall in a state includes mountain peaks, get a Patreon subscription.
Yeah. Exciting stuff happening on Patreon.
I mean, it's only $1. Would you pay $1 for that information? Probably not. Okay. So the best time to visit is June through August. So the middle of the year months have very comfortable weather with an average high temperatures. They're in the 60s and 70s. These months see the least precipitation with 1 to 6 days of precipitation per month. Oh, that's pretty good. So you've a decent luck you're not going to get rained on if you're hiking.
Yeah.
Worst time to visit, December through February, to nobody's surprise.
Yeah.
The weather's too cold this time of year in Mount Hood National Forest to be enjoyable for warm weather travelers. The average high during the season is 53 and 44 degrees. On average, it rains or snows a great amounts, 9 to 12 times per month. So, we're not going there in December.
The guy in this episode went hiking there during the month of December. So,
well, there you go.
Yeah.
So the terrain coming in at 11,249 feet, Mount Hood, located within Mount Hood National Forest, is the highest point in Oregon and the 4th highest point in the Cascade Range. On the other side, I skipped one. I'm sorry. On one side of the mountain is a moist temperate rainforest, which grows complete with moss and hangs off the tree branches with thick Douglas fir trees. So that's like when you see like the upper northwest, like super lush green. The other side is just super dry. So that's that rain shadow we always talk about.
Yeah, and one thing you missed a bit is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Mount Hood's they call it a potentially active stratovolcano, and a lot of people think it could erupt within the next 30 years. The odds are actually between 3 and 7%.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, I missed like 2 bullet points. I missed like 3. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's so is that a high percentage?
I have no clue.
Okay. I love how confidently you didn't know.
Yes.
I mean, it
clue.
sounds like 10%, but for like a mountain exploding is a lot of percent for me.
Yeah, a lot of times,
Like anything over 1% is like, hey, it's a whole mountain that could just explode.
Yeah, there was something, I think when we did Yosemite, because they always talk about the super volcano there's like a 1 in a million chance over the next 1,000 years or something for that to blow. So, I mean, without knowing anything about this, that 3 to 7%, I don't know.
Yeah, it seems high.
It does seem high.
All right, if you disagree, call the phone number and let us know. There are 8 wilderness areas in the forest, including Badger Creek, Bull of the Woods, Clackamas, Lower White River, Mark O, Hatfield, Mount Hood, Roaring River, and the Salmon Huckleberry Wilderness. It is home to 12 named glaciers or snowfields, which are almost exclusively above 6,000 feet above the tree line or at tree line. Let's see here. Much of the forest in the area is heavy, second or old growth areas. These dense coastal type rainforests can mask some of the terrain, which could cause problems for hikers who wander off trail. That is a big one for search and rescue, because if you get in that like fescue type stuff, like that's just off, it's hard to search that stuff. We've had a lot of people talk about that.
Even when I was hiking up in Olympic National Park in Washington, it's the same kind of forest. It's very thick and dense, and it would pose a lot of problems for any search and rescue that would.
Yeah, if you decide to go off trail, like to look at something and get injured and fall down and can't move, like it could be very hard to find you. So some of the types of animal dangers in the area, we have coyotes, gray fox, red fox, black bears. While grizzly bears were once native to the area, the last grizzly bear recorded was killed in the late 1930s at Billy Meadows, north of Enterprise in Wallowa County. So
Wallowa, I think.
Wallowa County. So there are no grizzlies or brown bears.
Just black bears.
Just black bears. And if you disagree, call the number. Mountain lions, bobcats, there's elk and mule deer. So pretty typical, the black bears we talked about are not nearly as dangerous as the grizzlies. Still dangerous. I'm not saying they're not dangerous.
You still got to take all the precautions, putting your food in hanging it in a tree and cooking downwind from camp.
And then as a solo hiker, mountain lions can be an issue. I know it's rare, but we've seen those videos of like hikers or
getting chased by
runners, or that one guy that was just walking after him real slow and he's yelling at it.
And obviously, if you have little children, don't let them out of your sight because a little toddler would be very easy prey for a mountain lion.
Absolutely.
So
for some of the terrain, rock and ice falls at higher elevations are an issue. Outside of that, nothing too much else. If you're on the dry side, not a lot of coverage. On the other side, there's a lot of that thick brush type stuff. So if you go off trail, it could cause a problem.
I would say the search and rescue people that were doing the search for Kirk did mention that because the forest is so thick that it does pose a threat to hikers if they go off trail, that it could be covering up some, deep, some areas where you could fall. So,
like you might have growth going, but like the ground dropped out. So you got a step where you think ground is, and then it's a cliff or something.
These rock and ice falls are mainly just a threat to anyone trying to summit Mount Hood.
Okay.
If you're hiking in the forest, which is immense, you're not going to, rock and ice falls. From my research, a lot of the national forests there, you've got terrain and elevations from like the 5,000-6,000 foot area, kind of more rolling hills.
Okay.
But there's still a lot of hazards that the search and rescue people said could be covered up by dense forest. So
okay.
Yeah.
Outside of that, just typical exposure stuff. So hypothermia, it is a colder climate, especially at night. You can get up to hurricane force winds at higher elevations. And at the time of year he was out there, there are significant blizzard possibilities. If there's a lot more precipitation those times of year.
Yeah, depending on where you hiked.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you have a lot of the worst factors that play against you surviving if there's an issue. There is a lack of natural shelter above 6,000 feet. So that's pretty crazy. 6,000 feet's the tree line here.
Yeah, and I definitely looked this up because I was curious about how high you have to go before you lose that kind of natural protection. And it obviously, we've said this in other shows, it varies depending on where you are in the world, and it's all based on climate. And what's the tree line in Colorado? It's higher than 6,000 feet.
It's like 11,000 feet.
Yeah.
It's real high up.
And it's not like, if you've ever been in the mountains, it's not like you're at 5,999 feet, it's dense forest.
Yeah.
6,000, it's just barren. It kind of like gradually
you'll see
disappears.
the trees get smaller. You'll start
Yep.
seeing like right at the end, like really tiny baby trees. Like they just don't have the
shrubs
right.
and-
They don't have the right opportunity to grow large. Essentially,
Yeah, less oxygen, less moisture, whatever the conditions are to cause that. But yeah, it's pretty low on Mount Hood.
yeah. So with it being that low, when weather does come in, it can be very difficult, impossible to pass the conditions. There's the lightning issues, maybe not so much in December, January timeframe, but I mean, if you get a heavy enough blizzard, you get thunder snow. So that's lightning and a snowstorm. And lenticular clouds forming at the summit is an indication that severe weather is coming. Those are so cool. Some of those pictures of those like lenticular clouds, we'll throw some of them up while we're going through.
It looks
sweet.
It looks like kind of like would you say like a top upside down?
Yes.
Just sitting on the top of the mountain.
Yes. Or like when they spin pizza on their finger.
Yeah.
Like kind of like that.
Yeah, so if you see one of those, maybe call off the hike or the summit for that day.
Or it's UFOs landing at the UFO base in Mount Hood. If you listen, what episode we did, Urban Legends and Theories?
Oh, Area 51.
It might be. I don't know.
I don't remember.
But they say that the cloud is a cover for docking space stations coming in.
I never thought of that. Maybe Mount Hood is a giant alien dock.
Could be.
Prove us wrong.
So difficulty in general, and I'll throw this up here. I pulled up the All Trails, and this is the trail he was on, supposedly, and we'll get into that. But they're saying that it is a moderate difficulty. It's 1.4 miles, moderately trafficked in and out. So it's not very hard to do. Elevation gains at 95 feet.
Yeah.
So it's fairly simple to do. Now, that is not withholding the fact that it could be snowing that day. So if he's snowshoeing or something, that would obviously make it more difficult.
The terrain in general just seemed pretty, flat.
Exactly. So like the only thing to make it hard is if you go like a foot of snow. You gotta walk through that. That can make it difficult. So, it was bad. I was looking at the stream and I was looking at my mouse on that screen and I'm like, how come it's not working? So, all right, I got it back to there. So you're not super difficult, again, barring the weather at the time of the year. So off of that, let's go into his character profile. You want to pick that one up, Mike?
Sure.
All right.
So like I said, his name is Gerren Kirk. Date of birth or age at the time he went missing was 31. So Joe mentioned in the kind of the show summary that he went missing on December 2nd. So actually his family stated that December 2nd was the last time they had seen him. He left to go on this mini camping trip in the forest on December 3rd of 2014. And he was a male. He was 6'1", 180 pounds. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. His clothing he was last seen in was unknown, but his brother said he was kind of in like drab colored clothing. It sounded like he did have the appropriate gear. He had, in the official reports I read that the police couldn't determine what he had with him, but his brother made it sound like he had the appropriate gear to hike in that, or at least camp in that environment. So a little bit about Kirk's personality. He was married for several years, but him and his wife were divorced. They shared joint custody of a 5-year-old daughter. And according to friends and family and everything I read about him, he was incredibly well-liked, seemed like a really nice guy. They have a Facebook page dedicated to him, and I spent probably over a good hour reading through all the comments of family and friends, and just an overwhelming outpouring of sadness for his disappearance. And a lot of people are sharing pictures about how all the cool stuff he did, and he seemed like a really nice guy. Apparently he really cared for his daughter, and no indication of any kinds of issues with like his family life. He just all around seemed like a really nice, well-liked guy.
Okay.
So He grew up, so this was funny. I was telling Joe before we started, when I was starting the research of this case, I saw that he was from Milwaukie. And when I read the stories about him, it's actually Milwaukie, Oregon, and they spell it a little different than our Milwaukee. At the end, it's
Well, they spell it wrong.
Yeah, they spell it wrong. So he's from Milwaukie, Oregon. He lived in Arizona for a number of years where he worked as an admissions officer at the University of Phoenix. He then decided to move back to Oregon to study business at the Portland Community College. So from all accounts, he was an experienced outdoorsman. He often took solo camping trips into this area. One note, though, his family and friends did mention that it was normally every trip he took, he would tell somebody or multiple people what his plan was. Like, here's where I'm going. Here's when I'll be back. All those kinds of details. So in this trip, he didn't tell anyone. I think they knew he was going to Mount Hood National Forest, but beyond that, no one had any clue where he was going. And this will factor into the start of the search and rescue because it's really hard if you report someone missing and you say he was heading to Mount Hood National Forest. Well, that's a million.
It's the size of Glacier National Park. That's like half the size of the state.
Yeah, you could never start a search and rescue operation with that limited information. So I'll get into that in a little bit. So experiencing this location, he grew up near the National Forest. He went camping there multiple times a year. I'm going to just assume and say it's safe to say that he was experienced in camping in this type of environment. Now, we don't know if he always went in December or if he normally went in the summer. So, because obviously a trip in July is going to be a lot different than going in December.
Yeah, entirely different set of gear.
Entirely different, yeah.
All the things.
So that's a little bit about Kirk as a person. Now, before we jump into the timeline, we actually need to take a moment to listen to this episode's sponsor.
Euphoria, a Greek word meaning having beautiful thoughts and a well-balanced mind. A balanced mind and body bring inner strength and self-confidence to power your best self. Euphoria Wellness, spelled EUVOIA Wellness, is created to help you be your best self. All of our products are made using full-spectrum CBD, meaning we use all the therapeutic parts of the hemp plant. If you have areas of discomfort or pain, our CBD Relief Roll-On is perfect for getting deep into your sore joints and muscles. A good night's sleep is vital to good health. Our sleep oil gives you better REM sleep and more refreshed mornings, while our regular full-spectrum oils are truly the liquid gold you need for your daily routine, making your days more focused and less stressful. Go to Euphoria Wellness, EUVOIAWellness.com, and find the natural solution for your wellness needs. That's EUVOIAWellness.com, and use promo code WELLNESS at checkout for 15% off your purchase.
I actually was just looking up Milwaukie.
Oh.
It's named after our Milwaukie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but it was named that way before the approved spelling was corrected. So they spelled it the way, and then they changed the spelling on them.
That's
funny.
And
then ours changed. It was something weird like that.
Well, thank you again to Euphoria Wellness for sponsoring this episode.
That Milwaukie fact comes from Euphoria Wellness.
All right, going to jump right into the timeline here. So December 3rd, 2014, it was a Wednesday. Like I said, he actually was last seen by his family on December 2nd, 2014. Gerren Kirk left his home to go hike in the Mount Hood National Forest with plans to return on December 6th, which would have been a Saturday. Law enforcement believes that Kirk arrived at the Frog Lake Snow Park sometime between noon and 1 p.m. Family members said that the 31-year-old didn't leave word about exactly where he planned to camp when he left on December 3rd. And like I said, that's a big issue when you're trying to get a search and rescue mission going, not knowing a starting point. Family members also said they didn't know whether he had enough food and supplies to stay in the woods so long, and multiple calls to him went to voicemail. So law enforcement did speculate that he likely had cold weather gear, but they were never able to confirm that. And as we'll learn later on, they never found any of his gear.
That sounds like, if they're speculating that, they probably talked to family. And I saw in the notes that the family said he was an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah.
So they probably said he's got this stuff.
Yeah, and his brother said that too.
Which leads me to believe he probably was prepared decently to go out.
Yeah. And this obviously probably factors into his disappearance quite a bit. His brother, Logan Kirk, said that he went missing in some pretty bad weather. So, obviously, the weather situation is going to play a major factor in probably what happened to him. So let's fast forward now. It's December 7th, 2014, which is a Sunday. Kirk's sister files a missing persons report. So he theoretically has been in the woods since about noon to 1 o'clock on the 3rd. Doesn't get reported missing until December 7th. Several days now, stuck out in the wilderness, in not ideal conditions. So his brother said there was some pretty bad weather in the area, so assuming lots of snow. Not great. The odds of survival, finding him alive, have already gone down tremendously just from the lag in time.
Yeah, and cold weather gear doesn't necessarily mean snow gear.
Yeah.
So, he may be able to get out to where he is. If he gets caught in a storm, he could probably hunker down, but movement is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, as soon as that stuff gets wet, it's going to be incredibly hard to get it dry.
Absolutely.
I don't know how you would.
Hypothermia.
Yeah. So, December 8th, 2014 is a Monday. The official search and rescue for Kirk didn't kick off until Monday because, like I said, they didn't have a point to commence the search. Then on Monday, a break in the case happened. Kirk's gold Pontiac Grand Am was found in the parking lot at the Frog Lake campground off of US 26. And this car was actually found by family members, not law enforcement or search and rescue members. So
it was in the parking lot?
It was in the parking lot of...
All right, yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah.
So they think he was on this trail. I zoomed in there before because I know that.
Well, they don't know
his car was there.
His car was there. They don't know.
So I'll zoom out and see. There's
yeah.
There's look at. There's no parking anywhere else in that area. So there's a creek up here. So that's if you're thinking, okay, he parked here, maybe went somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not initially seeing anywhere else unless he hitched a ride to down here. But why?
Well, there were other trails in the area. He could have gone up to
coming off this parking
Lower
lot. There's
Twin
a lot of
Campground.
trails.
Yeah, there's other ways. So
okay,
in our show notes, there's a screenshot. You don't have to show it on the screen, but you can just look at it. There's other trails out of there, so he could have gone other places. But
okay,
yeah, and like we said, he didn't tell anyone what he was going to do. So there's no the search and rescue team obviously know where his car is, so that's where they're going to start and fan out from there.
Sure.
And so like I said, his car was found by a family member. So with the discovery of the car, the search and rescue team is focused on the heavily wooded areas nearby. Law enforcement was also able to ping his cell phone and locate it east of Frog Lake, heading in a southwest direction. So this is interesting. I don't know from the research I did if when they say they pinged his cell phone, if they're actually able to send a signal to it. And
they said it's heading south, so east of Frog Lake.
Southwest.
So there's east of Frog Lake, but heading southwest.
Yeah.
So he was on this side, but heading down that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I couldn't find it, what they meant by ping a cell phone. So does that mean they went and got records from the cellular company?
My guess is if it hit enough towers, you can triangulate it. So his cell phone was, when they say I've always heard it as pinging a tower, meaning it connected. It's talking to a tower.
So that's interesting because
if they're able to say the direction, he was probably around enough cell phone towers that they triangulated his position.
So, so they were able to actually find his cell phone, physically find it. And due to the phone being located in Clackamas County, the Wasco County Sheriff's Office assumed command of the search and rescue operation at this point. And a couple comments I have on this. So it's interesting that family were trying to call him, and it was going straight to voicemail, but they were able to ping the location of the cell phone. So does that mean this ping happened and then the phone died?
That my guess is they went into past records to get his location, then probably died, especially being in cold weather. Batteries go a lot faster. Oh, yeah, and I can see there's a ton of logging roads you can see on here, too. I just put it up on the screen. So,
yeah,
he could have gone on either trails or either those roads.
And you can see how thickly wooded it is. How hard that would be to do a search and rescue.
Yeah, the parts that were cut out were already growing back in.
Yeah. I'm assuming those are squares they logged.
That's what I assume, too. They're right on either side of the road in like perfect squares, so that's probably them doing that.
Or it's the alien landing sites.
That could be the exhaust ports for the Mount Hood landing and launch site.
So, like we said, the search kicked off on December 8th, and there's conflicting reports online about how long it went. I read some things that said it went 9 days, others that said 8 days. I'm going to go with 8 days, so December 8th through December 15th, so that's a Monday to Monday. Pretty large search and rescue operation, and in a video we'll probably show a few minutes of in a second, his brother said that it was one of the largest search and rescue operations in Oregon history, and in all, the following organizations helped: the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue, Mountain Wave Emergency Communications, Clackamas County Sheriff's Search and Rescue, Multnomah County Search and Rescue, Klickitat County Search Office, Lake County Search and Rescue, Wallowa County Sheriff's Search and Rescue, Clatsop County Sheriff's Office, Salvation Army, Trauma Intervention Program, Businesses and Government CAT, Zigzag Welches in Sandy, Bud's Towing of Oregon City, and Milwaukie Presbyterian Church. So we had a lot of people out in the field searching.
That's like the entire town.
Yeah. So, Joe, why don't you play this quick little video, maybe just a minute or two.
Okay.
So we can hear his brother talking.
Hey, this is Jesse. I'm here with Logan and Elvon. And you want to tell them why we're out here?
We're out here looking for my brother in the Mount Hood wilderness. He's been missing for 13 days now.
And search and rescue was out here.
Yeah, search and rescue came out and they did a really excellent job. It was one of the largest searches in Oregon's history. At one point we had almost 200 searchers out here doing very thorough grid searching of the woods, but we still have the only sign of my brother has been his car in the parking lot of the Frog Lake.
Look at how thick that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're here at Clear Lake with Elvon. And Elvon's got...
It's beautiful.
Elvon's got the glasses. The goggles. He's got the drone. And so we're out here. We're still looking.
Snow cover doesn't seem too bad. This is 13 days later, he said.
We're using the drone to get the overhead view of the whole lake that we can't see with our regular eyes. And then it all gets uploaded to the computers over there. So here we go.
All right, so I'll pause it here.
This has a GoPro camera.
Based on just looking at the video, and if you're watching online, you can see it. If there was a storm, based on the cold weather, it doesn't seem like the storm caused a lot of snow cover issues.
Yeah.
So, like, snow cover wasn't too bad. Obviously, it's cold. They're bundled up. They're with cars. They're cold out there, so it's not a cakewalk of an environment to be in. But I wouldn't say snow cover would have kept him from traveling. That's not deep enough to really cause an issue for travel.
Now, you have another video.
Yeah, the actual drone footage.
Yeah, this doesn't have any audio, so we'll just... But
you can talk. I'll play...
for anyone that's watching this on YouTube, this is an example of some of the search and rescue video that they had from the air. And what the family was doing was they were getting this video and they were uploading it to, I think this is on Vimeo, but they were asking the general public to watch these videos over and over again and sit there and see if they can find anything that's out of the ordinary that might, lead someone to think that they've found his tracks or maybe a piece of gear or anything. But you can just get a sense of how hard it is to,
how
search.
thick it is and how, you can't determine what's on the ground.
We've always talked about, search and rescue missions and like, oh, they've got helicopters and infrared and you know, I've probably seen video from searches before, but it's a lot harder than you think to find something. I mean, it helps that it's snowed out, so if they have like different colored gear, that would stand out.
Yeah, you could see like a blue or a red or a yellow.
I mean, look at all those trees that you can't see under.
Yeah, if he's right there, you're not going to find him.
You're going to go right over him.
Yep.
So it's just kind of a cool video that the family posted to, you know, get the public to try and help them in the search. That's
actually a really smart idea. Like,
yeah.
You get so many of these people on the internet, like talk about like computing power, if you will.
Yeah.
You have, I'm going to upload this video. Maybe 100,000 people are looking at it. That's 100,000 people that might pick up on like a single pixel that looks off, mention something on Reddit, and then all of a sudden you have those 100,000 people focusing on that one thing.
Yeah, and people were actually doing that with this video. I didn't save any of the pictures, but people are actually like highlighting like certain spots where they thought like maybe they saw some tracks or, you know, anything like that. But yeah, I mean, you're looking for a needle in the haystack, and you know, think about how hard it is for, you know, a searcher in a helicopter that's super loud and shaking all around.
Yeah, not even this low.
And it's cold out, and they're sticking their heads out windows, like looking at the ground. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I've never really thought about it in that perspective, but, you know, it's amazing when they find people, but man, is it, you know, it's tough.
It's got to be absolutely tough. That's wild.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Some cool little videos. So like we said, a lot of people involved, almost 200 searchers and volunteers. The SAR operation focused on the areas around Fog and Twin Lakes. The SAR operation included dog teams and surveillance aircraft with heat detecting equipment, like we said. The weather during the search was mostly damp and slightly above freezing with unusually low snow levels for this time of year. So you can see that in the video from his brother.
Mm-hmm.
So December 16th, now 2014, it's a Tuesday. After more than a week of combing the southern flank of Mount Hood, the Wasco County Sheriff Sergeant Scott Williams said the search for missing Milwaukie man has been called off. He goes on to say it's been a long 9 days. He said the hunt for Gerren Kirk, 31, ended that Monday. He goes on to say it's a huge traffic area, and we found a lot of little things like a tent pole, but there was no way to tie them to Kirk. He goes on to say we found absolutely no evidence that we can contribute to him. We have no known direction of travel from this parking lot. It's an unknown what his intentions were or what gear he had with him. So that's really tough for searchers. I mean, obviously they're going to start at his car and they're just going to do, you know, fan out and a grid pattern.
Yeah.
For a week they did that. And it's tough though. You don't know what, you know, did he get a ride from somebody to another part of the forest? Did he, you know, he was a real fit guy. Like, did he just hike 30 miles in one direction down one of those logging roads or a trail and completely go out of the search area? Possible.
Yeah, I'd love to know what even like made him decide to go out, because it seemed like it was more spur of the moment.
Yeah, and it's strange because he normally tells everyone what his plans are, and this time, the one time he doesn't do that, he never is seen again. So that's weird to me.
Okay.
So, all right.
Yeah, I'm starting to think things.
Yes.
So I'm not. No, I'm gonna. You keep going.
So, interesting little fact here that came about in July 13 of 2019. Now, I'll preface this that it's not been confirmed, to be anybody yet. But this information I found on a U.S. government website called nameus.gov. It's basically a website for law enforcement agencies to upload missing persons information and things like that. And this information was submitted by the Oregon State Police Medical Examiner's Office. So the remains of an adult pre-40 with an estimated height of 5'8" to 6'10" were found in a rural location near the Twin Lakes Trail in Wasco County, Oregon. The remains were not recognizable and only included partial skeletal parts. So I have a little picture here in our show notes. It's north of the Frog Lake campground.
Okay.
But it's not that far.
That Twin Lakes hiking trail.
Yeah, so Twin Lakes hiking trail. So go up.
Let me just make sure it's thrown up on the screen here. Okay.
Yeah, so go right. So right around up a little north of that spot. So that
this bend.
Yeah, maybe that's too far. It's closer to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, meets. I see the. Okay.
But so yeah, in this general area is where, they found these skeletal remains of a pre-40 adult. 5'8" to 6'10" is a pretty big range in height, but, I mean, it's kind of coincidental that he went missing in this location and then they found skeletal remains. So that was the last update from that website on these remains. So there's been no further updates. I would assume there's some form of identification they can run to.
Yeah, that was just actually, you know what that is? That's just north of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, this is the trail starts right here. So
we're not saying it's him, and it's obviously this happened a few years ago, so you would think that between then and now they would have identified whose remains that were, but maybe the remains were so
they could have
weathered.
They could have got DNA, I would assume.
I don't
know. I'm not an expert at this, so I shouldn't assume.
Yeah, so it's just an interesting little sidebar about this case. So before we go into theories, Joe, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, so anyone who's into these cases of people going missing in the wilderness knows that there's like hot spots around the country. And I'm not going to try and go, missing 401, like conspiracy theory stuff, but there's just areas of the country where a lot of people go missing, like Yosemite, spots in Washington, obviously the Mount Hood area, there's a ton of disappearances. So this information comes from the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, and this kind of shocked me a little bit. There's still over 189 men and 51 women officially missing after venturing out into the Oregon wilderness. And I believe this goes back to 1997. So, and they go on to say, of those who go missing in the Oregon wilderness, 89% are found, 8% are dead, or are found dead, and 2% remain missing. So I did a little back of the napkin math there. So to extrapolate that means over 12,000 people have gone missing in the Oregon wilderness since 1997, and roughly 960 of them have died. And obviously, what is that, 89 plus 51, 240 are still currently missing. So that is that's a little puzzling. I mean, it's a large area. It's vast. It's 1 million square acres. Mm-hmm. Like we said, it's the size of Glacier National Park. But that just kind of puts into some perspective. There's a lot of people that go missing in this area every year. And obviously, when you have 4 or 5 million people visiting the forest every year, you're going to have this kind of stuff going on. I just wanted to highlight 2 interesting other cases in this area that kind of stood out. So, and then we'll get into theories.
All right.
So the first disappearance, I'm really sorry about this name. He was Damien Zhu. He was a University of Oregon mathematics professor. Failed to return after walking into the Willamette National Forest, 9 miles east of where our next person went missing. So the Willamette Forest is south of Mount Hood National Forest, not that far south. It's definitely, you could drive there from Mount Hood. And he was in his 50s. He went on a day hike carrying a water bottle and a guidebook. He wore lightweight clothes despite the lofty 4,500 feet elevation and lateness of the season. He went missing in November of 2007. Part of his guidebook was found by another hiker in the French Creek drainage area 1.5 weeks after he was reported missing. And winter storms forced the suspension of the search for him on November 18th, and nothing more has been heard of him. So real strange case there. Another guy that went missing, his name was James Jake Dutton. Dutton was a 5'10", 180-pound Lane Community College graduate, left his 1998 Nissan Frontier pickup at a U.S. Forest Service trailhead near Cougar Reservoir in June 15, 2012. He was an unmarried former Coast Guardsman who stayed fit by hiking and riding bicycles. He carried a backpack and was believed to be heading towards the Three Sisters Wilderness boundary. Dutton had plans to return to his truck June 18th. According to the trailhead pass he signed, he was never seen again either. So in this case, we've got a trained military veteran who is very fit and obviously, experienced in this area, went missing without a sight as well. So just some interesting sidebar to this case. I'll end the timeline section with just a couple tips from people that have been doing searches in the Oregon wilderness. So the first one,
like these are people who are search and rescue. Like, hey, if you're going to come out here, here's what you need to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first comment comes from Mary King, who is a search and rescue coordinator in the Benton County search and rescue team. She says, surviving in the backcountry after straying off trail often is a matter of knowing how to read a map, a compass, or a GPS unit. And many who have those tools aren't proficient with them, said Mary, who conducts about 20 searches a year. Many who fail to survive have poor fire building skills, are unable to keep warm and dry, and didn't bring extra food and water, she said. Another guy, George Kleinbaum, a search and rescue coordinator for the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, said, best advice for people planning a backcountry excursion is prepare for the worst and let somebody know where you're going and when you plan to return. Amen to that.
Number one.
We say that every
episode.
Every episode. So that's the story of Kirk. We'll jump right into theories.
I have to go back to one thing because I'm sure people are like chomping at their fingernails.
Oh, no.
I don't think your 12,000 number is correct.
12,000.
Said 12,000 people have gone missing since 1996.
Yeah, but 89% are found. So like 12,000.
Oh, like get lost
and have to be found.
Okay.
I apologize. I should have specified.
No, I probably didn't listen because I was clicking on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you're saying, and like it hit me after, and I'm like, that's really high. Like they haven't found that many people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I glazed over the found part. Okay.
Yeah. So the Oregon Office of Emergency Management said of those who go missing, 89% are found.
Okay.
8% are found dead. Yeah, and 2% remain missing.
Okay. I'm like, if 12,000, we'd have way more shows.
Well, the Alaska Triangle.
We would go to Mount Hood National Forest, and we would become experts in the area and only cover people that go missing there.
So, I mean, the Alaska Triangle, how many, weren't there like 10,000 that have?
It was like 18,000, but it was like
18,000.
since like the 40s or something.
Yeah, and that's like
the whole
size
state.
of Texas.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole state, and it's like in an area that makes sense because it's like, hey, nobody goes here ever at all, ever.
Yeah.
And if you go missing, we're not even going to look for you.
So, just to clarify once more, I said 12,000 people have gone missing over that time period. 89% of those 12,000 have been found.
Okay.
Alive.
I mean, that's still a lot.
That's still a lot of...
It was just way more shocking if they weren't found.
No, because, so I apologize for not...
No, it's possible you did it right and I heard it wrong.
No,
so
I read it. I read it the way I had it wrote.
I know.
But, good call, because that would have...
Maybe we would have maybe gotten angry phone calls.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, if you were going to angry phone call, do it.
Right. So, as far as official theories, law enforcement and family presume he's dead. Mm-hmm. Obviously, at this point, I didn't find any concrete theories like actual statements like, "Oh, we think he fell" or this or that. And the family, throughout looking through that Facebook page and reading, listening to other stuff, there was I don't know that law enforcement is going to make a definitive statement of what they think happened because they didn't even find remains.
There's like no evidence to even point to anything other than
they didn't even know where he was going.
That's what I'm saying. Like his car's there. Like you could go crazy and start assuming like maybe someone else drove it there to like, make it seem like he went there.
So I can go into my my theories. Unless
2 years.
You wanna, okay.
2 years, because I'm going to have some real ones, but I had some crazy ones too.
Okay, I like the crazy.
Yep.
So I'm just going to run through just a couple theories and how likely I think they might be. So I think one of the most likely is hypothermia and exposure due to the bad weather he was hiking in. I think that's very likely. Maybe
like on trail still, but succumb to the elements.
Similar to maybe Kian in our last episode. He maybe went off trail and out of the search zone. I think the fact that he was there in December, it gets cold, and there was a storm rolling through. So even if you had warm weather gear, when I was hiking at Mount Rainier, I had waterproof gear.
Well, imagine this along that same theory.
Yeah.
If he already set up camp and went to go get water or something, and I think what people don't get is in thick, lush forest like that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Even in winter, you could go 30 feet off trail and turn around and not be able to find your way back.
Yeah.
When it's that thick, like when they talk about going off trail, it's not like he went a mile off trail and couldn't find his way back. Sometimes when you're on a trail, when you turn around and look back at the same trail you've been walking on, it looks entirely different.
Well, and especially
forwards and backwards.
If there's a major storm going on.
Yeah, I'm like, but even besides that, like we've been on trails and you turn around and you're like, wow, that looks nothing like we just walked up there, but it looks different.
I've gotten turned around in northern Wisconsin in the Nicolet National Forest, even walking down service roads, they crisscross and loop around, and you get turned around. So yeah, I think
that doesn't make me feel good about going on hiking trips with you.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I think hypothermia and exposure is a very likely possibility. Mm-hmm. Like I said, due to the time of year he went, there was a major storm rolling through. Like I was just saying, I went hiking on Mount Rainier, and I had actual rain gear that was like supposed to be rated for, whatever they rate rain gear for, not getting you wet.
Yeah.
And for like an hour I was dry, and then I was soaked. Like, cause it was
that torrential?
It was torrential sideways rain. And once the gear,
it's only rated from down on you, not sideways at you.
And once that stuff gets wet, in that kind of environment, it's impossible
useless
to dry out.
Yeah, it's useless.
I threw it in a dry sack and didn't wear it again until the next hiking trip. So I think the next theory is an accident due to a fall. I said a less likelihood of this happening just because the area, so like we don't know where he hiked, so I have to go off the assumption that this happened somewhere in the Frog Lake area. If he was trying to summit Mount Hood, I would say an accident due to a fall, very likely. But the fact that he was at Frog Lake, which
if you look at this entire area,
it looks pretty flat. Now we probably have listeners who've been in this part, and they'll be like, "No, it's not flat; it's rolling." And but for someone experienced, like I'm going to say a lower likelihood of dying or getting injured from a fall.
Yeah,
there you go. It's 3D.
Yeah, there's no cliffs or mountains, right?
It's kind of like rolling foothills.
Yeah, they're logging the area.
Yeah,
so it's pretty flat.
So does that mean he went off trail and fell down, and hit his head on a tree or something? 100% could have happened.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that maybe is less likely. As far as animal attack, obviously there's black bears and mountain lions in this area. Could some strange thing happen and he was attacked by a black bear? Possible. But in past episodes, we've gone...
And they should be hibernating.
Yeah, it's December. And we've gone over in past episodes, and we actually took some flack from people because they said we were kind of being nonchalant about black bears. But
in one of our daily lessons about bears and what we get wrong.
It's hilarious. But the evidence and the data that I found on bear attacks in the United States, just based on how many encounters people have with bears versus how many people get attacked by bears, is very low. So, and at this time of the year in December, I think the likelihood of him, getting injured or being killed by an animal is very low.
Yeah, I agree.
One area that I think there is a better chance, and when I was doing this episode, I didn't think about the time of year, so this might be less likely based on it being December, but foul play. So I found some stats from a website about crime in the Mount Hood area, and it does have an elevated level of criminal activity. There's also several public groups that have the purpose to stamp out drug use and sales in the Mount Hood area, and one of them is actually called Mount Hood Coalition Against Drug Crime. And also I did, doing a simple Google search like Mount Hood National Forest crime, there's actually quite a few articles about law enforcement finding bodies of people who've been shot.
So like they'll murder and then dump bodies out there?
Or they're involved in some kind of criminal activity in the forest and it went wrong or went south real fast. So
okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I wonder if they have a lot of illegal grows, kind of like the Emerald Triangle and that whole area.
Yeah, I mean, in December, you're not going to have anybody growing anything, but it doesn't mean that there's not people out there doing drug transactions.
That doesn't say that if it's a criminal activity area, who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, there are probably these locals that are listening that are going to
call the number.
Let us know. I'm just going off of some crime stats that I saw. I'm not saying that this is like the, it's
a theory.
It's a theory. So could he have? He's alone. Maybe somebody was doing a drug transaction in the Frog Lake campground parking lot at night, and he happened to see it, and they, this is a theory we've had in some other cases, like Paul Fugate, that he came across an illegal drug operation or something. So I'm not saying that it did or didn't happen. I'm just saying that could be a potential theory. The final theory I just want to touch on that I don't think there's a likelihood of is mental distress or suicide. And I'm obviously can only base this on what I've read. It seemed like everything about him in his personal life, he seemed like a really happy guy, loved his daughter. His family and friends loved him, said he was a great guy, awesome to be around. There was no indication that I got that he was suicidal. And like we always say, doesn't mean somebody's not going through, tough times if they don't outwardly show it. But sure. I didn't see anything. Law enforcement, in all the sources, the dozens of sources I read for this episode, nothing mentioned that as a possible explanation for why he went out there.
Yeah, and they deal with that real time with other people. So I think when you're dealing with people who maybe see those types of things occur a lot, they get an indication in profiles that they probably get a hunch about, this person is leaning that way or not. And we've seen that before where people said, maybe, or maybe kind of this. And there's people that's basically, no, they were not, they still had connections with family, things like that.
Yeah, and a lot of times law enforcement will make a comment about their mental, state at the time they went missing. And that didn't come up at all. It doesn't mean that's not what he did. So obviously, I think my number one theory is probably hypothermia and exposure due to him going out in bad weather in December in the Mount Hood area. What do you think?
I would agree with that. Honestly, I think he succumbed to the elements. My theory, just kind of even I refined it while you were talking. I feel like it's one of those things where maybe he set up camp, went to go. I just think about what I do when I go out hiking. I set up camp, get that squared away, and then I'm going to go get all the things I need to survive in that space. So I might have to trek out to get some water or fill up some pots or things like that. My guess is he probably had all the right gear, probably knew what he was doing. My guess is he went along that trail. So when I look at the trail, I'll pop it back up on the screen. If you're going to go at a terrible time of year, I'm just trying to think of me. I'm going to do a hike or an area that is a little bit easier to do. It's cold. I'm not in it to hike and look at everything that's going on. When I'm going down a trail in winter, it's I want to get to where I'm going. It's still beautiful, but in summer, I want to go long distances. I want to see lots of things, maybe get away from people. I feel like here you could park your car, hike along the trail, and what you're seeing here are more service roads. The trails are these smaller lines.
Yeah.
Those are the hiking trails. There's a campground that's right here. And the one thing I noticed is look at this. Look at that view of Mount Hood. Yeah. So if I go down an angle, I would love to set up camp in the middle of winter, see that, just beautiful. That'd be awesome. I'm not going to hike tons of miles. Mm-hmm. So what if he sets up camp? There's no one out there because it's a terrible time of year to camp.
Yeah.
He goes to either get water or something and just can't find his way back.
Yeah, but now my question is, you'd think you'd find his tent.
That hit me kind of after I said it. If you didn't say it, I was going to, they'd find his stuff.
Unless, maybe he was carrying it all and he was like, I'm going to go find a spot.
Yeah.
And got turned
I don't
around.
know.
I don't know.
Okay. Nope. That blew it up.
And one thing we didn't know is what they found in his car. That didn't come up in any of the research, which would have been interesting.
If there was gear in there that he left behind.
Did he leave his backpack in his car? It doesn't sound like he did, because I feel like they would have mentioned that.
Yeah.
But
the more crazy.
Yeah, I like crazy.
Well, I'm thinking more like getting almost Hollywood-like of, was it a murder and covered up by someone drove his car out? Like, he didn't drive his car. Someone set it up, and then his family said, he went hiking, or somebody, how did they know he went hiking? Did he send a text?
Yeah,
so,
it didn't say.
So, what if somebody killed him, sent the text, said, I'm going for a hike? Because what they said was it was out of character for him just randomly doing it, not telling us.
Yeah. So,
to me, that says either he wants to disappear or somebody wanted him to disappear. And I would love to know, did he talk to his family and say, I'm going to go hiking, and then I'm just going to go out hiking tonight, and then just leave? Or was it a text or an email?
I think he told his family on the second that he was heading to Mount Hood to camp.
But what's tell his family? Group text?
Yeah.
I could write a group text to your family and say, Mike, hey, I'm going to be late at work tonight. I'm going to go out to the bar and meet some people afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's you telling them. And that's kind of where, like I said, there's no evidence of this. This is me speculating entirely. But I'm like, what if something bad happened to him? A friend or something, an accident, got killed, and this is how they cover it up. Oh, he does go hiking. This isn't completely out of character for him. I'm going to go camp over here, drive out, park the car there, get out of Dodge, and then you have the state searching this area for a guy who's not there.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of similar to my foul play, a little twist on it. Instead of him coming across something going on in the parking lot at Frog Lake,
that too,
he gets dumped there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, maybe we'll find out that those bone fragments are his remains at some point.
When did they discover those again?
It was July of 2019.
Okay, so it's kind of recently.
Kind of recently, yeah.
And there's been times when, and I don't understand it. I'd love to we should try and get an Emmy on here or something to explain. I feel like sometimes when they're doing that, it takes a long time for them to determine who it is. And then I feel like other times, they turn around in a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to, obviously, we should get someone like that on the show, but it probably just has to do with how weathered the remains are, how much of the remains
That's what
are
I'd love to know. Do they have to, if it's old bones that have been weathered, do they have to dig into the middle of them and find good DNA or what? So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the easiest
let's try
would
and
be,
get a medical examiner on that.
Yeah, when you have a full skeletal, full skeletal remains is the teeth.
Yeah. Okay. Doing the dental records. But
I would imagine, they would have to find some DNA left in the bones, and then, let's just assume he doesn't have his DNA sequence. So now what do? Do you go and get the DNA of his parents and then see how much of it matches?
I think you just use his stuff though, like his toothbrush or things from his house. So yeah, I don't know.
Anyone listening, if you're a medical examiner, we'd love to have you on the show.
If you're a medical examiner and not super awkward.
Yeah. We do
even if you are, we
do a whole episode on techniques about it. Be a pretty grisly episode now that I'm thinking about it, but
I think it'd be good.
It's information be really interesting to know about.
We should also get a bear expert to teach us all about bears.
We should get Bear Grylls.
We accidentally get Bear Grylls. He teaches us nothing about bears, and then we get yelled at for getting the wrong bear expert.
Yeah.
We'll get an expert on Bear Grylls by accident.
It is funny how many times we've been yelled at about things we've said about bears.
I know.
Nothing triggered people more than when we said there were bears in Yosemite or grizzlies.
Oh yeah,
was that Yosemite?
I don't know.
And
now I'm afraid to guess.
I know.
Was it California?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done with that for now. So I honestly, if I'm gonna be real, I'm with you on exposure.
Yeah, I think that's
however it happened, and it's just so thick it's hard to search, and they probably won't find him.
Yeah, my guess is he, just like Kian, maybe he went off trail and got out of the search zone. I think in this situation, that is really likely because the search and rescue team didn't know what he was doing. They didn't know his plan.
They had no area
They
to
literally
search.
had no idea what direction he went in. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't take much for him to hike out of the search area. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, odds are it's possible they never were in the search area. Who knows?
yeah. So yeah, that's all I had, Joe.
Yeah, I think it's one of those unfortunate ones where it's just too little information and the area is way too thick to search. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you have YouTube, we do have the YouTube channel, so you can be sure to lick that subscribe button and show us, share that video content as well. If you want to support the show monetarily, we have the Facebook store. We have the store on our website. You can get some cool swag. If you feel inclined for additional episodes and other things such as Patreon-only Zoom calls, you can join our Patreon and donate monthly for as little as $1 a month. And always remember, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, please remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.